people who are terrified of speaking usually are not calling me. But a lot of times what I have found is that there's a certain amount of people who've always dreamed of doing it, but maybe just didn't have the opportunity or that didn't believe they could do it, didn't know how they could get started. And now with Facebook Live and YouTube videos and virtual meetings, there's just so many ways that you can get out there. It's more accessible than it was maybe in the 80s or the 90s or even the early 2000s. Now anyone can do it.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Ray Allen.
On this episode of the Marketing Expedition Podcast, I get to speak with Leisa Reid. She's the founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now and the CEO of International Speaker Network. Leisa trains entrepreneurs on how to use public speaking as a soul-filling business growth strategy. And as a self-proclaimed talk doula, she facilitates the birth of new talks all around the world in her Get Your Talk Ready to Rock sessions. Throughout her years of working with speakers, the most frequent confessions she hears are, "I've always wanted to be a speaker, but..." or "I'm still working on my talk, and I'm not sure where to get booked." It is her mission to collaborate with her clients so that they can quickly and easily create their talks and deliver them to audiences that are the right fit. Leisa has booked and delivered over 600 speaking engagements and is a 7-time author, podcast host, and was awarded an honorary doctorate, although she has both a bachelor's and a master's degree in speech communication. And she assures her clients that those degrees are not required in order to be a speaker. She's a mom, a wife, a dog lover, and loves live rock concerts. And we're going to talk all about the truth on how to get speaking gigs now. But first, it's time for your Marketing Essentials moment, the basics that you need to help you continue to build your brand and your bottom line on this collective marketing journey that we're all going on. Today's topic is about choosing a social media listening tool. So thinking about your online reputation and choosing how you can look at the key features and considerations of so many tools that also integrate AI into what they're doing. And because social media has become such an integral part of all of our brands and how to get the messaging out there, we also want to hear what our audience is talking about when our brand is being mentioned, or maybe there's trends that are, or topics that are coming up that are within our industry or our category or something specific to that's relevant to our areas of focus in our businesses. So thinking about just the plethora of different tools out there that can provide you some valuable insights when it comes to social listening, then thinking about what it is that you want. What's the end game here? What do we need to know about these invaluable insights that we can gather from our target audience, and then be able to make some data-driven decisions and understand what kinds of things are being talked about, and analyzing those conversations and giving us those helpful tips and understanding into our audiences that we want to continuously attract and retain and gain audience share and industry share ultimately. And then ultimately after that, conversions into buying, and then also retaining those clients and customers that we are always actively wanting to impress and keep us in our sphere of influence. So what is a social listening tool to begin with? I guess we should probably identify what that is even further. A social listening tool will enhance, and it's kind of like a software solution that allows businesses or agencies to monitor brands and analyze those conversations that are happening on those various plethora of social media platforms out there, including everything from, all the meta platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and, then to Pinterest and Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. I'm still getting hung up on that. And in essence, really thinking about how we can identify those trends, gauge the sentiment. So sentiment scoring is like on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that somebody would recommend your brand? Or what are the messaging? What are people saying? What kind of, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral about your brand, and measuring your brand's performance? And then also it goes beyond just tracking mentions and hashtags. It really does help you understand those contexts behind those conversations that are occurring. And tools now use the sophisticated algorithms and then natural language processing, and of course machine learning processing capabilities to then enable these tools to help you uncover those actionable insights from all of this information that's now available in people talking about you, your brand, your whatever it is that their topic or trend is about in your category. So when we think about selecting the social media listening tool, and we are working with a client now and going through this process with them and identifying what's going to be the best tool, or maybe even it's a tech stack of multiple tools, because sometimes when they're tools that try to claim that they have, all in one, all inclusive, maybe they're really good at some areas, but maybe not so great at other areas. But maybe there's other tools that only feature specific things that they do that could be better. So sometimes it's integrating tech stacks of multiple tools, not just always an all-in-one. And sometimes all-in-ones can help depending on what it is that you're wanting to do. So really, the social listening has been really helpful for getting that invaluable benefits across various aspects of all the marketing strategies and executions that we're doing, and thinking about our audience research and segmentation. How does the tool that you're going to select help you with segmenting your audience and understanding what's effective for each of those segments of your audience, right? We have multiple different audiences or different segments within an audience, right? There might be different age ranges. There might be, male, female, or unidentified, whichever. There might be, dual income, no children. There might be the maturing audience. There might be, just maybe different segments within a singular product and different use cases for each of those segments. And so thinking about how you can analyze conversations based on generational factors, geographic factors, the products that you serve, maybe the different types of versions of the products that you serve or services that you give, right? The demographics. And then thinking about the influencers and how they will influence your audience segments. And what are the customer pain points? And how can this information that you're tracking help you understand what those pain points are from each of those segments that you have? And then, of course, this information is going to help you create personalized marketing messages that resonate with each of those audience segments to then help better drive engagement and then ultimately impact your bottom line. So thinking about how the tool can help you with audience research and segmentation. And then, of course, brand reputation management. So thinking about the tools that you're using, the social media listening tools, and how they can allow you to enhance your brand's reputation by engaging with customers in real time and giving you that rapid response that you want to be able to respond when somebody's mentioning you or your name or tagging you or hashtagging you, or even just having your name in a social media, even if it's not tagged, right? Sometimes we want to be able to track those too, because if people aren't tagging us and they might have something negative to say, we want to be able to respond, even if it's to ask them to call you or take it offline or anything like that. We want to make sure that if there's any complaints about our brand or anything that's related to a product or service that we provide, that we are actively responding to them. So listening on social media will help you to be able to potentially turn some of those negative experiences or potentially negative experiences into positive interactions. And so the tools that you're using need to be able to search those social mentions that you have on all of the channels that you maybe you're not on, but they are, right? Be where your customer's at and understand where they're at. And if you're not on the platforms that they're on, that's also a consideration for something to integrate into your marketing plan. And then thinking about competitive analysis. Can the tools help keep an eye on your competitors? Well, I mean, that's really, what are they doing? How are they doing? Are they doing something better than you? Or are you getting compared to something else, some other competitor? And what is it that you can do about that, and gaining that information to understand what their strategies and tactics are, and maybe find out where you're falling short or where they're falling short. And then you can capitalize on that and use that to your advantage, and use your social listening tool to track those conversations and sentiments around each of your competitors' brands too. Gain knowledge, right? And then, of course, can it do some campaign monitoring and optimization, and understanding the effectiveness of your campaign, and looking for ideas and areas that you can improve based on those engagement levels, the click-through levels. Are people seeing your ads? And if not, then what can we do about it? And how having that integrated into all of the other efforts that you're doing in the overall campaign, or hashtags or keywords that you're using in your campaigns. And then another key component to thinking about how your social listening tools or media listening tools can help you is identifying the marketing trends that are happening. What's going on in your market? What kinds of information can you glean and hone in on? Because the tools are helping you identify those market trends, and what you can do to then fine tune your product or service and get an edge on your competition, and then help you with market demands. If people are saying, hey, we want this feature or that feature, or wouldn't it be great if we could do this instead, or that instead, or wouldn't it be great if they added this or did this and this? Listen to your audience. Another thing that is helpful with social listening tools is crisis management. All of these digital words that are going across all of our laptop screens and mobile devices and iPads, all of those types of things can pop up, and maybe you can keep an eye on it and nip it in the bud before it becomes a bigger problem. With real-time monitoring, those capabilities can help you respond a lot faster and help you to maybe sometimes mitigate the impact of something that could sprawl out of control, right? And then identifying your influencers. Who are the people who are sharing and engaging and interacting the most? Who is it that you could partner with because they are in love with your brand and have wonderful things to say about you? And how do you reward them for saying all those wonderful things about you? And or vice versa, who are the people who are detractors, who are saying not nice things, the trolls, the people that want to say negative things that may or may not have any basis, but then you can be right there to understand what is happening with those conversations and how you can mitigate that if you need to. Or on the flip side, reward those who are your true influencers or brand advocates or brand loyalists, right? The brand evangelists that we love. We all love those people who want to say and sing our praises for our brands, right? And then another idea that can come as a result of using social listening tools is furthering your idea content creation and then validation, utilizing some predictive analysis to give you suggested topics or suggested content or ideas that could help sprawl from being able to listen to and monitoring those conversations. Then you can identify new content ideas that will continue to resonate with your audience and be on top of it, because people want instant gratification. If you can reply with, quick, witty comments that will help you in your whatever it is, it doesn't always have to be witty, but, little quick quirks that can help, right? And understanding your consumers' behavior, your customers' behavior. So looking at those key factors to consider when you are looking at social listening tools, and can they integrate with all of the different various platforms that you're already integrated with? LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Pinterest, whatever other platforms you're using, and can they provide you insights into your current audience that you already have and understand the preferences that they are having and what you can do to further engage with them and make your brand experience memorable and active in the people that you already have as your audience. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about this real-time monitoring, but really understanding, because we're so fast-paced now and things can be said. And if you are, 2 days too late, then, competition might have already jumped on it. And so looking at what's going on in real time and having a dashboard that will give you real-time information and tracking as it happens, then you can respond faster and be more prompt and have that rapid response that people so eagerly want these days, right? People want to respond to their email or their message a lot sooner than what it used to be. And then keyword and hashtag, those specific keywords that you can tell the tool to track for you, or even give you suggested keywords or hashtags to track and give you those insights and uncover those specific trends or topics of interest so that you can stay in the know and stay ahead of the curve as much as you can, right? And then, of course, that sentiment analysis that we were talking about, understanding the sentiment behind those conversations that are happening and what people are saying and measuring that brand sentiment. People always say, oh, it's so hard to measure branding. Well, there are some ways that we can measure brand sentiment and do a Likert scale or a scale of 1 to 10 or a scale of, or if it's a A, B, C, D, or whatever it is, but we can identify those sentiments. And if people are using negative words about us regularly, we've got to do something about that, right? And we want to make sure that we can classify those conversations as positive, negative, or neutral. What can we do to move those negative and neutral into the positive and find ways to be able to communicate with those people who are not so happy about what you're doing? Or maybe they're just misunderstanding something. Sometimes it's all just about communication, and sometimes, miscues can happen. So what can we do to fix those problems or find solutions? As I like to say, we have opportunities, not problems. We have opportunities to find solutions, right? And then data and reporting, understanding what it is that you're looking at and having a tool that can give you guidance and help in understanding the analytics and reporting. The tools really need to be customizable and have dashboards and have these beautiful visualization features, which I'm a very visual person. So I love it when I can see charts and graphs and things that are going to help me understand the analysis of the data even more. I mean, it's one thing to have all this data, but if you don't understand it, and it's just useless to you if you don't understand what you're looking at, right? So thinking about all of those wonderful things. And then, of course, benchmarking before you even get started. Where are you at now? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And how are you going to continue to capitalize and grow and scale in your category, your industry, your market? Where are you falling short? Where do you need to continue to refine your strategies accordingly so that you can beat out your competitors or get to the punch faster, right? So anyway, those are all the things that you can consider while you're going through this process of finding the best social listening tools in the market. And hit us up if you'd like, because we have done a pretty extensive, exhaustive report out on tools that need to be used for various different things and some all-inclusive tools as well. We've done some demos. We've done some things that we're implementing for clients now. So hit us up if you'd like. Go to peppershock.com, fill out the contact form, say you heard me talking about this on the Marketing Expedition podcast. I always love it when people get back to us and say that they heard about it on the podcast. It makes me happy. Anyway, get a hold of us and see how we can help you in your quest to making sure that you are being responsive and utilizing social listening tools to your advantage. All right, let's get into the interview. Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today's guest, we have Leisa Reid. Welcome to the show, Leisa.
Yay. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, let's just give a brief little overview of, I know we have the bio and we'll have that all in here, but I want to hear from your words. How did you get to where you are now and all the wonderful things that you get to do?
Well, one of the things that I get to do is help entrepreneurs who really want to use public speaking as a way to market their business and attract their clients. So how did I get there is, of course, a different animal. I've always been interested in teaching. Even when I was a little kid, I wanted to teach kindergarten. I wanted to teach gymnastics and so forth and so on. So I often call myself a teacher disguised as a speaker. But I did get my degrees in speech communication, and I taught at Cal State Fullerton interpersonal communication. So it's always been this part of my desire is to speak, but because I want to teach people how they can empower themselves. And it wasn't until I was 40, though. I got my degrees way before that, but it wasn't until I was 40 that I actually started speaking to gain clients. And I was hired by a company to do that. They said, we would like you to fill our workshops. And I had already taken a lot of their workshops and I love them. And we would love for you to go out and speak as much as you can to attract ideal clients. And that's what I did. And I started a network for speakers, which is now called the International Speaker Network. And in that network, people were always asking me, how did you get so many speaking gigs, Leisa? And I'll be honest, I turned them away for quite some time. I just said, I don't have time to help you. I would love to, but doing other things. Until one day I decided, wait a second. Clearly there's a need here. Clearly people are wanting to get on more stages. And that is when I started Get Speaking Gigs Now in 2017.
I love that. So obviously getting speaking gigs does so many things for the speaker. Can you share a little bit for somebody who's thinking about potentially becoming a speaker? What can it do for you if you become a speaker?
Well, it's a level playing field. So it doesn't matter how old you are or what your degrees are in or how many years you've been in business. You can literally get started very, very quickly. You can get clients very, very quickly without a lot of fancy schmancy things. Just your knowledge and your bravery, right? You've got to have some courage to get out there. You can actually garnish clients. My very first, I'll tell you a story. My very first speaking engagement with that company, I made a call to a gal that I know, and she knows everybody. We always know that person who knows everybody.
Connectors, yes.
Yeah, and I thought she's got to know someone because she knows everybody. Well, not only did she know someone, she herself had a couple of stages that she invited me to speak on. And the very first one the very first talk that I gave was in front of about 10 of her colleagues. They're all leaders in the field, in their field. And 3 of them ended up signing up for my workshop that I was offering was like $300. And then they ended up taking multiple workshops and spending thousands upon $10,000s of dollars. And that was my very first one. So I'm just letting you know. Yeah, it's like you don't have to have done this a million times to have results.
What was your workshop on? What was your first workshop that you did?
The workshop was through the company that I was working for, and I then ended up leading it probably 30 times. But it's called Beyond. I don't know, called Beyond Reasons, meaning like we all have reasons why we don't have what we want. Let's dig in and find out what those reasons are so that we can shift our beliefs around them and get more of what we want. Yeah.
So that would have been a really cool experience to say, you know what? Hey, all of a sudden now people want to hear what I have to say. That's awesome.
It is. It's really nice. It's like a natural high, right? People actually say, "Oh, you changed my life," or "Wow, I felt like you were just speaking to me. I'm going to take some action. I'm going to do something different in my life, or I'm going to learn this thing that's going to empower me." It's very exciting.
That is thrilling. You're right. I mean, I've been on many stages, and one of the things that people always say, and maybe you can attest to this, how do you do it? How do you just get up there and you have confidence, you're brave, and all these things, and it prohibits people because they have fear of being in front of people, right?
Yeah, like marketing, there's lots of choices, as we're talking about marketing today. There's lots of choices in marketing, and not everyone is going to be attracted to every technique. I had a client the other day tell me, okay, I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to be on any social media except for LinkedIn. I said, okay, great. Then that would be your strategy. Why would I make you or suggest
Own
something
it.
that you I already know you're not going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So people who are terrified of speaking usually are not calling me. But a lot of times, what I have found is that there's a certain amount of people who've always dreamed of doing it,
Hmm.
but maybe just didn't have the opportunity or that didn't believe they could do it, didn't know how they could get started. And now with Facebook Live and YouTube videos and virtual meetings, there's just so many ways that you can get out there. It's
Hmm.
more accessible than it was maybe in the 80s or the 90s or even the early 2000s. Now anyone can do it.
Yeah. So, what advice do you give to your clients when they are, well, maybe when they're wanting to first approach to work with you? What kind of the process do you do? What do you go through to get them to where they do get speaking gigs now?
Yeah. Well, I say the first step to getting speaking gigs is to get started,
Right.
meaning like you got to be ready to say yes. You got to be that ready to like say, put me in coach type of a
Mhm.
thing. So in the first 30 days, when they go through my speakers training academy, what we do is a deep dive, get your talk ready to rock session, meaning let me dive in with you and I'm actually going to help you birth your brilliance, birth your talk so that we have a title, a description, learning points. You have your call to action. You know what you're going to do. And that way, even the next day, if somebody asks you to speak, hey, could you be our speaker for the next month, a month from now, you have the information that they need. You have the confidence that you're going to need to say yes to an opportunity like that. And then, of course, you have time to put slides together or practice what, that's going to come right after that. But you have that, I call it, you put your stake in the ground of this is what I'm going
Mm.
to be speaking about. And it's so exhilarating and empowering.
Oh, that's good advice. Because if they don't know what they're going to talk about, then it would be difficult to promote that.
It's really hard because as soon as you say, you let it slip out, like I'm a speaker, of course, naturally a person's going to say, oh, great. What do you speak on? I mean, that's what everyone, your,
Right.
your, your Uber driver would ask you that. Anybody would
Yeah.
ask you that. So
Yeah.
if you say, oh, I speak on everything or anything, no. Or you just say, oh, I need to look it up. I'm not sure what the title of like, you don't want to be like in that uncertainty. You want to be secure, certain, confident, and claim it.
Very cool. Very cool. So then after they go through this process, they get the title, they get the description, the call to action, ideally the confidence to
Yes,
then go
yes.
forward. What's then the next step to getting the people interested in wanting to have them speak?
Right. So it's funny. I equate it to putting dinner on the table. You know how like if you're having, I don't know, chicken and salad and rice, like you're having a side dish, main dish, appetizers, whatever, dessert, everything's sort of getting done at the same time, but not at the same time. But it doesn't always matter which one comes first, right? So it's kind of like putting dinner on the table or being an entrepreneur. You're like, well, I'm working on this, but I'm also working on that. I'm working on.
Mhm.
So yes, I think I like to start with the talk because then the client or my client has a real clear direction of where they're going. We've identified who are they going to be speaking to. But that's just the beginning. That's like the base of the mountain, right?
Mhm.
Now we start to think, okay, great. I call it we want to actually create your speaking gig pipeline. Who or what organizations are out there that would benefit from your knowledge, benefit from your expertise? Great. Now let's start putting that list together. Who do we know? And then that is the strategy could be cold market, warm market. It depends. I love working with warm markets, right? I have not
Mhm.
yet met any speakers who like to cold call or cold email or cold reach out. It's not the funnest part of this whole thing.
Right.
So we think, how do you start to curate your warm market? Let them know what you're doing, let them know who you're looking for, what kind of groups you're looking for. So that's what helps to really get the machine going. And I
Mhm.
haven't cold called for speaking engagements in 9 years, but I usually speak 40, 50 times a year. And that's been going on for 10 years. So that's the type of results I want to have for my clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, putting that list together is so important. What are some of kind of things that come to mind that would be on somebody's list, just in general, like you said,
Yeah.
associations? I mean, give us some ideas of
Yeah.
what could be on that list that somebody could make.
Well, one thing that I think if I hearken back to my original roots of speaking for that organization, I was speaking about mindset, which is a topic I call industry agnostic, meaning
Mm.
I could speak to realtors, to moms, to seniors, uh, engineers, any industry pretty much.
Mhm.
And what that gave me is a lot of exposure to all different kinds of organizations and groups and opportunities. So when I think an easy way to think of it for listeners out there is think local, national, international, just to narrow it down, because too much white space, we get like overwhelmed. If you
Right.
Googled it, you'd get overwhelmed. So you think local. Okay. If you live in some kind of city, where there's commerce, oh, okay. Are there, maybe Chamber of Commerce might be an opportunity. Maybe there, like I live in a county where there's 30 plus chambers of commerce. That's all
Yeah.
within driving distance. So that's, oh, let me start thinking about that.
Mm.
What other business networking groups or business organizations are in your local area? Those are another way. Or what businesses or associations are in your local area? And now then we start to move into expanding from local to national, because a lot of times associations are not just in the city or the county. There
Mhm.
might be multiple in the state. There might be, depending on what state you live in, there might be some just in the next few states over. Or if you're like, I love to travel, I want to go all over. Well, there might be 50. There might be an
Mhm.
association in every single state. And then international, I I sorry. Obviously there's other things too. There's conferences and conventions and things like that. So this is where it depends on who are you going for, what opportunities you're going for. Like I have a client who his history is very high level executive in corporate. And so he's really comfortable speaking to corporate audiences. He's an executive coach for C-level people. So
Mhm.
his strategy is going to be really different than my client who lives in the middle of nowhere, literally, and all her presentations would be virtual, and she's more spiritual, like working on frequencies and things like that. So her audience is really different. A corporate audience would probably freak her out, right? Because that's just not her comfort zone.
Mhm.
She's more uh, probably women's groups or things like that. So it depends on the person.
Yeah. Well, and like you said too, if you are industry specific versus, I like that what you said, industry agnostic, so that
Mhm.
then um, you can speak to any industry, because we're all human and we all have similar, human conditions. So if there's something that's appealing that could attract any of those, then you've gotten a wide base. But then narrowing it down too, like finding those associations that would be more interested to hire somebody based on your topics, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of figuring that's really the secret, right? Is
it is.
figuring
And
it out.
it's part of, it's a little bit of testing. And another way to think about it too is like I call it your pillars. Like one of my clients, her pillars are like medical and finance. Just those two alone are huge opportunities. So she may start with medical, but if someone says, well, I know a finance association, would you speak to them? She would probably say yes.
Mhm.
So, but it gives your mind a place to focus. I think a lot of times people think there's like, where would I get gigs? How could I do that? Where would anyone let me speak? The good news is there's actually plenty of speaking engagements, but our mind will then start to kind of freeze up a little bit when there's too many choices. So it's really actually more powerful to narrow down, like, okay, here's the laser focus areas, that I can go to, and then you know what to ask for when you're out networking or when you're connecting with people that or sending out a newsletter or putting something on LinkedIn.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, yeah, so that way you're not trying to be all things to all people, but you can
Exactly.
be many things to not as many people.
Yeah, because it's not about being busier, it's about being effective, right? Like
Mhm.
y-
Mhm.
most people don't speak 50 times a year. But what if you did one or two a month, 12, 24 times a year? What if some of those were virtual? You're then reaching a much broader audience with the same amount of time, with like an hour of your time, instead of, one-on-one phone calls or one-on-one outreach, depending on what your strategy is. And that can be really effective.
Absolutely. Hello, this is Ray Allen, President and CEO of Peppershock Media and your host of the Marketing Expedition podcast. And I'm here to invite you to one of my favorite events, New Marketing Trends for the New Year workshop. There will be an amazing lineup of speakers, and if you're interested in being recognized as one of our sponsors, email us at info@peppershock.com or give us a call at 208-461-5070. And I'll be there to share all the latest and greatest in marketing tips, tactics, tricks, and new technologies that you need to know about in the new year. We'll break it down, mix it up, and take you from I totally just can't even to yes, we can. We'll help you build your brand and your bottom line. Bring your team, bring your boss, bring a friend. Let's get ready to kickstart the new year by attending the New Marketing Trends for the New Year workshop. Get your tickets now. Go to marketingtrendsevent.com. So tell me more about the International Speaker Network. What, if somebody were to be a part of it, what is it exactly? How do you leverage it? What would be the best ideal person that would come to your International Speaker Network?
Well, it's on ispeakernetwork.com, and the International Speaker Network is a group I started back in 2013. So we're in our 11th year now, and we took over the International Speaker Network name last year and started a membership because we have people all over the world now. The only continent not represented yet is Antarctica, but I'm not expecting anyone from Antarctica. Just, okay, it's okay. But what we have in common is that we all are speakers and we're at different levels. And I think that's an important distinction because sometimes people want to be a speaker, but they're not. They're maybe feeling a little suffering from comparisitis, like, well, gosh, I don't have enough experience, or I'm not as experienced as this person. And I always want to say the International Speaker Network is a place for all speakers, wherever you are in that journey, because as a new person, you can learn so much from the other members and really soak up and get strategies and techniques. And like we always have a speaker-driven education piece, and people just put knowledge into the pool. It's not just a dry presentation. It's like, let's talk about this thing, speaker reels, PowerPoints, whatever it is that's hot. And on the other end, we always share like opportunities, like, does anyone have a summit they need a speaker on, or a stage they need speakers on, or a podcast they need speakers on, guests on? And then to sweeten the pot even more, each time we have activities based on helping you get connected with speaking engagements or the podcast host, or linking arms with other people that might be able to share resources, all for the purpose of you getting more visibility, you getting on more stages, et cetera. So that's really worked for me. That's why we've been doing it for over 10 years. And I just saw on Facebook earlier today, someone was like, I was a guest on someone else's podcast from the International Speaker Network. So that's how we play. We play to have fun, and we play to get results.
Very cool. I think the reciprocal aspect of it too, because if there's a speaker that's in the membership that speaks on a particular topic that maybe I don't, then they can refer that business or refer that gig to somebody else. And it becomes a great tool for other people to then, or maybe they're, hey, I'm speaking at this gig, but they need more speakers. So here's the network. Here's what you can do.
And that's how it works. Yeah.
And so like booking agents or people who are creating these summits and conferences, they can access this and have this directory of people, right? So it kind of works both ways.
Yeah, they can go on our Facebook page and take a look at that, or contact me directly, and it just makes it super easy for people to get connected to the right. It's like matchmaking, right? It's like you want to have the right speaker for the right people. Nobody wants a event that bombs, right? They want an event that's really successful.
Yeah, no, and we've done that before where I have a friend of mine, she does crisis PR. I do not do crisis PR. I do not want anything to do with crisis PR. No, thank you. I've had to do it in a crisis moment because no one else was available at the time. But so she speaks on those topics. I speak about culture and branding. and, more on the marketing side. So then in tandem together, we get booked because she knows of an event or something that they need a speaker. And then she's had me speak kind of alongside with her. And it just works lovely because she knows her topic. I know my topic. And, there's not a whole lot of crossover, and we've done it together. So then finding other people that you can align with that is not going to necessarily be your topic, but will go in tandem with it. And then you can both present yourself together at this wonderful summit or conference or whatever, right?
You are like literally reading my mind, Ray, because I call that the speaker soulmate system. And it came about organically. And I've had, networking education over the years and used strategic partnership for business and such. But with speaking, I was like, wait, this is like really cool. Like I've had a speaker soulmate now for going on to about 10 years. We've referred hundreds of events to each other, and
yes,
it's free.
That.
It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Just be nice to somebody. Find a friend who it does exactly what you're talking about. Like and trust each other. You have a similar frequency of speaking, and you speak to a similar audience, but you're not each other's competition. It's a beautiful, easy low cost way to make a lot of money and have fun doing it.
That's awesome. Well, and then in some cases you can travel together, and it'll, for per diem, then you get to, I guess profit a little bit more.
Yeah, you split the cost. Exactly.
It works out wonderfully. Awesome. Okay, so thinking about our listeners right now, maybe there's somebody out there that's listening to this and being like, oh man, how do I get a hold of her? What do I need to do? Tell them how does the membership work? What does it, maybe range in cost, kind of the process, what can they expect when they were to sign up too?
Yeah, super easy. It's at ispeakernetwork.com, like the letter I for international, speakernetwork.com. To join, you just join right online. Very simple. At this current recording, it's $99 to join and $20 a month. So depending on when you're listening to this, maybe it'll be the same.
Yeah.
But
that's great.
Yeah, it's very, very affordable. You get instant bonuses right away, and we'll just bring you on into the fold. So you get trainings. There's all kinds of things that you get. You get access to recordings and all the chats and all the fun stuff that we do. Go to the Facebook page as well and interact there.
No, that's great. And it's very, I think, reasonably priced too, because I think it's like you said, it's at every level, with lots of experience or not. And it sounds like there's lots of good nuggets to get and gain from doing it. I'm going to have to just join, Leisa.
Oh, well, we'd love to have you. Absolutely. That was so fun. We get to stay in touch. How exciting.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more, just some tips that kind of come to mind when somebody is preparing to speak, maybe even working with the people who are booking you, just some kind of general guidelines or things that you could offer up the audience that could be useful. Not to give everything away because they got to become members of of your membership, but what are some things that come to mind right away that could be useful in when somebody is going off to get their speaking gig?
You mean like when they're, so I mean, I'm happy to share whatever, but do you mean like when they've secured it? Like, oh, I've got a date on the calendar, I'm speaking, then what do you do next? Is that what you mean?
Well, it just gave me a thought. Maybe we back it up just a little bit. Maybe they are working on securing with somebody. Maybe some things to consider to talk to that booking agent, and then yeah, take us forward from there. But yeah, that's
it's like there's a little journey that we go on.
Yeah.
It's like we all want to be a Carnegie Hall, but if you haven't taken a music lesson yet, like how we're going to get there? Okay,
how do we get there?
So once you have your talk dialed in, like, okay, this is what I'm going to be talking about, and you started to realize, oh, here's some places I could go speak. What I usually do is start with my warm market first because it's easier. I find that a lot of us, especially really heart-centered, purpose-driven people, don't love the, hey, buy my stuff kind of like, it feels intimidating. It feels awkward, or it's that phone, all of the metaphorical phone gets very heavy, right? And we're scrubbing the bathroom floors before we're like cold calling anyone, right? So I think that the warm market approach is just an easier entry point. And what I mean by warm market approach is like, who do you know? This is like to me, the easiest way. If you drop me in a city and I don't know anyone, I have to like completely start over from scratch and pretend all my social media is done. I have my phone died. I don't know anybody. I'd be like, who is the connector in this area that I'm in? Who knows everybody? So you start thinking of like, who do you know who knows everyone? Because we know a lot of people now. And it might not even be someone you know really well. Maybe it's a friend on Facebook or Instagram or something like you're like, oh, that person always seems connected. And see if you can't get a meeting with them. Just a virtual coffee. You're not selling them anything. You're not selling anything, right? You're just, hey, here's something I'm doing. I'd love to fill you in. I'd love to learn more about you. Do you know anyone who might have this, this opportunity or know someone or know an organization that, right? And that's, once you do that the first couple times, you get really good at it. You start to go, oh, I could do that anywhere. I could do that on a virtual networking thing. I could put that in the chat. Hey, I'm looking for people who know someone at the association of XYZ, or so I'm looking to speak at women's associations or entrepreneurial groups. Does anyone know anyone? Anyone have a group that they are involved in that they really love, right? So it starts to all of a sudden be really easy to do that no matter where you are. I got a booking for a really large medical company one time at a barbecue. Okay. So
that.
Again, I'm not trying to intimidate anyone here. It's like, you can do this, but the clarity and who you speak to is your first superpower that you want to grasp. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now there's opportunities everywhere. And a lot of times my clients are like, oh my gosh, Leisa, I see speaking opportunities everywhere now. This is amazing. I'm like, they're always been there. We just don't see them. So we got to like take those blinders off. Yeah.
So can you provide some insight when you're talking to somebody that wants to book you to speak about how to negotiate your speaking fee or honorarium or whatever it is that you're working out? Because I think that is one area for me that's always a little tricky to navigate. And so I just wanted to know, maybe, how have you gone about navigating and asking for the fee? And how do you lead into that?
Well, I do have answers, or I mean, I have a response, and also I'm just going to break open the whole speaker fee thing, right? Because most of my clients are not using speaking to get a fee. What they're utilizing speaking for is a way to market and attract their ideal clients. So all of a sudden, that speaker fee and the negotiation and the contracts and the hotel and the travel and everything, it's like you don't actually have to worry about that, because if you're in front of the right audience with the right message, you'll more than likely have a lot higher sales than that speaker fee would be. Okay. So just a different perspective. That's a different model. I always say speaking is like a deck of cards. What game are we playing and how do we win? Right. Okay. So that would be one game. There is the keynote speaking model or game, right? That you're speaking of. And a certain amount of people, because of their clients and their history and their comfort level and maybe their experience in speaking, are like, nope, I'm going keynote. This is what I want to do. This is what lights me up. So when it comes to negotiating, typically you want to, I think it's nice to, when you have that face-to-face meeting, like a virtual meeting, or at least a phone call. So not email would be ideal. And I like to think of it as, if you come to that conversation as that you're both on the same side of the table instead of symbolically on the opposite side of the table. Because they want to have a really good event. You want to have a really good experience. Like, we all want to provide value to the audience. So it's like, okay, mentally, emotionally, like, we're on the same side. Typically, there's a budget in mind. You don't know that information yet. They have that information. So if we can have a candid conversation about what the budget is, that would then at least allow you to know what ballpark you're in, so that you're not going way beyond or way under, right? Often it's also easier for people to spend other people's money. Have you noticed that, Ray?
Oh, yes.
Yes. It's a little different when it's coming out of their pocket, right? Then, of course, they're going to try to get the lowest deal. But when they know that there's a certain budget involved and you've developed a relationship and rapport with that person, well, I think they're more likely to advocate for you, and if they feel confident that you're going to really deliver on that thing that you're promising, and their audience is going to be like, this was the greatest speaker, we had such a, oh, please, can we have that person back? Like, that's what they want. They don't want to hear, who was that loser speaker that you had?
Yeah.
That was horrible. Right? So
Right.
I think sometimes people forget about all those things when it comes to money. It's like, are
Mm-hmm.
we a match? And allowing them to feel confident with their decision, and that money is being well spent. So I find that a lot of times people will actually advocate for you when you've developed that relationship and
Yeah.
rapport. And they're more likely to say, well, the budget's this, let me see if I can get you a little bit more. Or, well, our budget's this, but we do have these other things that we need to consider. So it might not be, but at least then you're having an open conversation instead of this adversarial conversation, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Oh, yeah. How important do you think it is to be an author speaker as opposed to just a speaker or just an author?
Well, gosh, it's such a personal decision. I will speak to this. Sometimes, and I mentioned this earlier, the comparisitis will kick
Mm.
in. And
I love that term, by the way.
yeah,
Comparison.
I also call it speaker's kryptonite. And it might
Yeah.
be like, well, I can't do this because I'm not an author yet. I'm still
Mhm.
working on my talk. I need to write more courses. I need to have this. And I'm not sure if, all the things that happen in our mind,
Mhm.
that speaker's
Yep.
kryptonite that can keep us from. So when people say, well, I need to write a book first, I'm like, no, you don't. How do you, and then how do I know?
Mhm.
Because there's tons of people doing it, who, including myself, who did not have a book for quite some time, and hundreds of talks without a book.
Mhm.
Is it nice to have a book? Yes. Yes, of course. Of course it would be nice.
Mhm.
But but you don't need it in order
Mhm.
to be a speaker or to be successful.
Right.
But it does start to go hand in hand. It's kind of like, you can have a peanut butter sandwich, but you could also have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So
Yeah.
it can certainly open up more doors. So I'm not saying don't write a book. I'm just saying don't let it stop you from speaking. Same
Yeah.
as I would say if you were, an author working on getting your talk ready. It's like, well, is being a speaker going to help you get more traction on your book? Absolutely, but you don't
Mhm.
want to let it stop you from promoting your
Right.
book either.
That's good. That's really good advice. I think you're right. I don't yet have a book. I mean, I've been contributor
Yeah,
as an author,
you don't have your
but I
own
don't have like my
solo.
own
Yes,
book. But I've also spoke a lot, and it's because it's content
yeah,
expertise, right? And there are different types of speakers too. Like I speak on the content and the things that I'm passionate about in marketing and branding. But when it comes to talking about myself, yeah, maybe not so much. Or, I'm
yeah.
not the true like motivational speaker, right? There's multiple different ways to be a speaker, right?
Absolutely. I'm the same. I'm more, and even in my book, it's not a lot of personal information. It's how-to stuff. It's like
Mhm.
teaching stuff. And I think that's fine. There's again,
Mhm.
like, not a wrong way. I
Yeah.
do think it's helpful though, like, given your career and your organization, your company, and what you're doing for people, I think it would make sense for you to, get that going, because of course, like anything, it gives people access to you. Like, my book's an audiobook as well,
Mm,
because
mhm.
I thought, well, I'm a speaker, so people are probably going to want to hear my
Right.
voice,
Mhm.
and they relate to the spoken word because they are also wanting to be speakers. And it's a way for them to get to know me a little bit without, it's like a tire kicking, like, oh, I can kick a little tires, and then go, oh, I really like her sense of humor because she's so funny. I'm just kidding. But, and then they can find out if they enjoy that, the style that I have, and the
Yeah.
personality that I have.
I love that. It's a really good idea. I have started a book, but I've recorded my voice
Yeah.
and then turn it into words. But I'm like, maybe I just need to record, the podcast as a podcast and then turn that into a book.
You could totally do that. In fact, one of my
Yeah.
friends, she's very successful. That's how
Mhm.
she did it. It was really hard for her to kind of do the pen paper, and I mean, like, typing, right? It was
Yeah.
really just, she just kept hitting a wall, but she's got a successful podcast. She's a TV host. She teaches people how to be TV hosts.
Love
And
that.
she's like, why don't I just speak it? And so she did that. She took some, I was just on a panel with her. That's how she was sharing about that. So it's top of mind.
Fun.
But yeah, you could just speak your book and then have it
There you
transcribed.
go.
Easy.
Great. Yep, because you're right. The spoken word can get out a lot differently than having to put pen and paper together. Or
Absolutely.
typing, as you said. Very cool. So, I love the aspect of being able to speak and not feeling like you're doing it for free when you don't charge
Hmm.
a fee,
Hmm.
but that it could turn into more. So, what are some strategies that you and your clients have taken to kind of do that subtle sales? Because you, like you said, you don't want to be salesy the entire time that you're
Right.
speaking, right? But what
Yeah.
are some things that have done or that have led to your clients getting more new clients as a result of them speaking?
Yeah, I think that's so important because a lot of times we, say like a lot of my clients are coaches, right?
Mhm.
And they get their coaching certification and they're like, okay, where's my clients?
Mm.
And oh, yeah, sales and marketing. Darn
Mm.
it. I was not expecting that. And so if you've never done sales and marketing as a career, I can only imagine it's like deer in the headlights. Like
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to have a lot of sales background.
Mhm.
So what I think is helpful, especially when you're a speaker, I always say no one could do your push-ups for you on stage. That's you, you, and you. You have to be in love with your offer, meaning you have to be in love with it, knowing this is the best way people can go to that next step. This is going to be really helpful for people. This is going to serve people, not I'm going to get all their money and get, it's
Mhm.
it usually for really heart-centered people, it's not going to work. And so when I work with them on their getting their talk ready rock, we actually have a very healthy, juicy conversation about what is that next invitation step,
Mhm.
because I want them to be clear, which usually they're not.
Mm.
And I want them to make it simple, which usually it isn't.
Mhm.
In their mind, they come in like, well, they could go here and then jump over a brick and then jump and then pat their head 3 times and then finally one day get to my, whatever site or something. I'm like, no, 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 no. We cannot do that.
Mhm.
It's got to
That
be
call to action needs to be
super
very clear.
easy, clear, easy. And if you as a speaker are not clear and easy, guess what? The
Mhm.
audience also is not, it's
Mm.
not, they're totally confused.
That's
So
yeah.
clear
You're
and
right.
easy is
I think
is
it can
is
be.
definitely a first. I would say clear and easy. Make it clear and
Mhm.
easy. So I'll teach my clients like how do we take their offer and make that super clear and easy, whether it's on a slide and then practicing it and saying it so many times, not so it's memorized, but just that you're not all resistance and gunky about it. Like you just like
Right.
let it come through you. You don't have to say it exactly the same way. It doesn't need to be cheesy or perfect. Just be you. But it's like you're inviting someone to a party. Like, oh my gosh, I'm having this party. I would love for you to come. Would you please join me? Here's how you do it. You go
Mhm.
here, you go to this link and you go to the QR code and
Mhm.
here's all the stuff you're going to get. Like with the International Speaker Network, like you're going
Mhm.
to have so much fun. It's going to be great. Come join us. It's awesome. ispeakernetwork.com. Please do it.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah. I love it.
wouldn't usually
Good
say
way
it
to
like
plug
that, but
it too. Yeah, very clear offer at the end and giving people the opportunity to do it. That's one thing that I always see speakers do when I've watched them is, some of them have done it really well at the very end. They have that offer and they give people time to do the
yes.
QR code or do the link
Yes.
thing. Whenever it goes long and then now people are rushing off to the next session or next meeting or next whatever, and that you run out of time, that's crucial to make
Painful.
sure you've
It's
got the time right.
right. It pains me to see it.
Mhm.
I literally feel aches in my body. I'm like, oh, geez, here we
Yep.
go. This
Mhm.
is not good. So,
Mhm. Yep. Timing is everything for sure. Well, thank you so much for all of this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tips. It's helped me a lot in my
oh,
speaking
good.
career. I love it. But Lisa, any kind of final words that you'd like to share with the audience that I didn't already ask you or grill you about that you'd like
Yeah,
to give,
sure.
and we
I'll
can wrap
I'll
up?
give another free opportunity because the International Speaker Network is a although low, it is a paid opportunity.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking, "Wow, I think I might consider speaking. This might be the next thing since sliced bread for my business."
Mhm. Yeah.
Then you can get some free tips at getspeakinggigsnow.com/tips. And that'll give you 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs now. That's the tips I still use. And I've mentioned a couple of them here today, but they're pandemic proof. Like you can use them anytime. And that's at getspeakinggigsnow.com/tips.
I love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I was just going to say, I'm going to have to go check out all the websites and go get myself signed up, and then I'll give a little shout out to you once I get in and get all the bonuses and goodies that you have.
Love it. Oh, thank you.
All right. And for those of you listening, the best thing that you can do for Leisa and I both is share this podcast with others that you know that need to hear exactly what Leisa had to say. Maybe there's other speakers out there or people who have thought about wanting to become a speaker, and I'm sure she can set us up with success. So share this, give us a good review, and until next time, everybody, enjoy your marketing journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.